Well, Dr. Fauci's a rock star, and yeah, that's certainly an option. But there's so many things involved in just pulling that together. And, like Adam said, everything's on the table, and we'll explore that among many other options.
Can you give us a peek behind the curtain as to what's going on behind the scenes among you and other owners and maybe coaches and just other leaders of the league in terms of trying to, put together the plan for moving forward?
Again, there's not really a plan we can put together. The biggest mistake we can make is trying to rush. I mean, that's the topic going on around the country, right? When do we start acting as if things are normally, or when can we dip our toes into opening up businesses? And there's so many tasks involved in that. Just simple things like mask or no mask, or how do you do training to put on a mask or take off a mask? What do you do with masks when they're disposed of? There's just 1,000 different little elements that have to be taken into consideration. Do we allow a media family? Well, if you allow media family, what about children? How do you train children to take their masks on and off? A 10-year-old is just going to be playing with their face all day long. There are so many components that, we have to explore and get right, because we can't put anybody at risk.
The mayors of the two largest cities in the U.S. are warning it'll be a long time before fans are in the stands again. Let's listen.
It's difficult to imagine us getting together in the thousands anytime soon. So I think we should be prepared for that this year.
If we move too quick, we put 50,000 people in Yankee Stadium, and that's part of why you see a resurgence of the disease. That would be the worst of all worlds.
You are on the president's advisory board on how to reopen the economy. So what are you telling him?
Just that, not to take a chance and to get it all right. And I think what's missing, and what I'll say to him the next time we convene, is we need a task force that deals with all the little things that are required to open up any business. It's not just about opening up an arena, but when we have any type of opening, if you're a local restaurant, or let's just say you're a retail store and people want to touch the clothing before they buy it, what touch points are you going to allow? How do you deal with, 50 million people have allergies who are going to sneeze into their mask? We don't know which of those people may or may not be affected with COVID or anything else for that matter. What are the protocols for disposing of masks, providing masks? There needs to be a task force that deals with all the minutia required with opening up a business. The restrooms, right? How do you make sure people are washing your hands? How do you train people to do all these things and make sure, not necessarily make sure they comply, but hope they comply? There's so many things that go into opening up the economy and getting it right so we don't have a resurgence of the disease. That's one of the things I'll be focusing on. Detail, 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 so that the smallest of business doesn't feel like they're making it worse and can open up with confidence and safety.
I want to ask you more about that, because we now know 22 million people have, filed for those unemployment claims in the last 4 weeks. I believe government obviously has a role in helping the millions of Americans to find an economic lifeline right now. But privately, people are also weighing what they can do to help, whether it's a small business that keeps paying its employees while their revenue dries up, or a household that keeps paying a housekeeper. Your team actually made the decision to keep paying all the workers at your arena. Do you think it's fair to ask all major sports teams to do that even while their games are canceled?
I mean, each owner for any business, whether it's a sports team or any type of business, has to make their own decision. Everyone is in a different financial position. All I would suggest or ask is that if you can afford to do it, continue to do it, because it's really important to the bigger picture. It's really important to the economy. And those people who are living paycheck to paycheck need it more than anybody. If we're going to rebuild this economy, it's not going to be the old school trickle-down approach. That failed. What we need to do is recognize this needs to be trickle up. The more people we can keep paid, the more people we can keep working, the more people that we pay, even if they're not working, the better chance the economy has to have, the better chance the economy has a resurgence sooner rather than later.
Here's your chance to throw out a challenge on live TV to all those other sports team owners in order to do what you're doing and paying the workers for those games.
Again, I'm not going to tell other people how to spend their money, but I will say this. Anybody who owns a business, the more you can keep your folks on the payroll, the longer you can keep your folks on the payroll, even despite all the uncertainty of what's going on with the PPP programs and the other SBA programs, the better it is for the economy. And I'll also tell you, be transparent, be honest, communicate. because when we try to get through this, the best ideas and the best opportunities are going to come from talking to your employees. All the people at the top can talk all we want, but the reality is where the rubber meets the road and where the employees talk to customers and prospects, that's where the resurgence is going to come from. Those are the people we need to focus on. Those people are far more important than people like me or our shareholders.